And I would like to welcome you to the 2022 October Cybersecurity Month celebrations. This is a culmination of a lot of activities that we've had this month. To start us off, we'll have our opening ceremony, and I would like us to all be upstanding to start off with our national anthem. Thank you. Thank you. You may take your seats. Our program will be projected on the screen, and as well as the Wi-Fi credentials for your use. Before we start, we'll have our prayers by Mr. Alfred Ambani from the Communications Authority. Thank you.
All protocols observed. Let's bow down for a word of prayer. Our Father and our God, we thank you for this day that you have given to us. We bless your name, O God, that you have given us life. And we thank you that we are gathered here for this cybersecurity conference. We pray, Lord, that you guide us and you lead us, the facilitators, Lord. Father, we pray for our resource persons, O God, that you'll guide them to deliver the material that they need to deliver. We also pray, Lord, for the participants, Look, God, that you will give them, oh God, the grace to be able to capture that which they need to, so that the objective of this conference is achieved, oh God. Even as we drive this nation, oh God, to the desired digital transformed nation, we pray, oh God Almighty, that this particular conference will play a key part in that drive, oh God. We thank you, Lord. Be with us, and even our service providers, Lord. We pray everything shall work even according to plan, oh my Father, and even at the end of the 3 days of conference, Lord, the objectives shall be fully achieved. We thank you. Be with us and bless us. As also a nation, we also pray for your blessing in Jesus' name. Amen. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ambani. I'd like to now invite our speakers for opening ceremony. We'll start us off with Dr. Vincent Gundi, and he will take us through the opening ceremony. Thank you very much, Dr. Ari.
Thank you, Caroline. Our Director General and CEO, Mr. Ezra Chiloba, who is also our chief guest today, our members of CA management present, our partners in this conference, Huawei, Kenya Bankers Association, and Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensics Association, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. Good morning and welcome to the 2022 Annual Cybersecurity Conference. Allow me to start by giving an overview of the global cyber threat landscape and some of the efforts that the Communications Authority is putting in place to mitigate these strategies. And really what I'll be doing is to give a synopsis of the quarterly reports that we generate every quarter, this being the latest one. Now, new and emerging technologies have greatly influenced the rapid adoption and deployment of technology. This has further resulted in the proliferation of digital identity systems, data-driven services, cryptocurrencies, blockchain applications, and e-government services. And therefore, cyber threat actors continue to adopt sophisticated attack techniques to compromise critical information infrastructure and, by extension, individuals' personal and sensitive information. We're also seeing cyber criminals deploying fraud as a service, among other attack vectors. And therefore, in order to address these emerging threats, there is need for nations around the world to engage in collaborative efforts geared towards formulating policies, implementing technical solutions, building capacity, and educating the public. And that's one of the purposes of this conference today. So what are the most common attack vectors that we are seeing being used by cyber threat actors? One is misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation, which is among the greatest challenges that we're witnessing today. And you have observed that with digital platforms enabling the rapid sharing of information, social media amplifies the propagation of misinformation, disinformation, and malinformation. And towards this, the authority continues to disseminate technical advisories on a 24/7 basis. We also continue to share best practice guides with the public, and we also work with social media providers and fact-checking entities to verify information. Ransomware continues to be a major cybersecurity challenge, affecting organizations and individuals across different sectors. And we have seen, for example, ransomware groups like Conti and Lockbit targeting SMEs, and you know that SMEs represent 98% or more of this economy. More so, they've been targeting the healthcare sector and government critical infrastructure. It is actually estimated that ransomware attacks will cost the global economy over $6 trillion in the next few years. Humans are the weakest link when it comes to cybersecurity, and therefore phishing is another concern, and this is due to our imperfect nature, which cyber threat actors are fully aware of. Cyber threat actors leverage on phishing attacks to launch advanced attacks for purposes of exploiting human behavior. And to mitigate this, we recommend that individuals perform due diligence before acting on any digital communication, or as well as the need to create awareness. Denial of service attacks remain one of the oldest attack vectors, and yet the technique remains prevalent, albeit with a bit of sophistication. Now, we are seeing a huge deployment of Internet of Things devices, and especially with the advent of 5G networks. And therefore, cyber threat actors are targeting vulnerable IoT devices, which are now being widely deployed. We also have an issue of cloud security, and this is because the rapid adoption of cloud services has led to increased reliance on third-party services accessed through the open internet. And therefore, cyber threat actors continue to exploit critical vulnerabilities in cloud-based systems in order to gain unauthorized access to corporate environments and run large-scale remote attacks. It is therefore clear that cybersecurity is a people business, and therefore collaboration and concerted effort, both locally and internationally, will play a significant role in enhancing cyber resilience. Now, with those many remarks, allow me to invite a number of our partners to give a few remarks before our Chief Guest and Director General makes his keynote address and officially opens this conference. And I want to start with Fred Wahome, who is the first chairman of the Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensic Association, to give his brief remarks, and then we'll get some words from the rest of the partners. Thank you.
Good morning, team. Thank you very much, the Director General, Communications Authority, the partners, the colleagues in the industry. This is a great morning that we are here. I am Frederick Wahome. I'm the Vice Chair, Kenya Cybersecurity and Forensic Association. So we have come a long way, right from our inception, when we faced some challenges during our registration. The Communications Authority came on board and they assisted us, and we were able to be fully registered. We have partnered with them, and actually they believed in us by signing up their key members of staffs in the IT and cybersecurity, which somehow gave us credibility to start also having conversation with the professionals. And the reason we exist is to bring together professionals so that we can be able to develop the industry. Because without a proper structure in place, it is not somehow possible for us to organize ourselves. And for the last few years, we have also partnered with Communications Authority and other agencies to make sure that our young people, as they come from institutions of learning, and when they come to the industry, they have the prerequisite skills, so that they will not come into the industry and they do not have the skills, because as we understand, cybersecurity being technical, somehow if you come into the industry and you do not have the skills, somehow you may be irrelevant. Again, there's another group which has so much technical skills, but somehow they lack the ethical aspect. And this is where we also come on board. We go out, get these young people, and try now to shape them in the context of the moral and ethics, because they have the skills, but they do not have the proper guidance structure in place. Last week, we were able to be privileged and honored to lead the technical part for a hackathon, which happened on Wednesday and Thursday. It was a 24 hours program where young people, we had around 120 young people drawn from institutions of high learning. And this is the generation of Z. These are the people with the skills, but they don't care about the processes which have already been structured in place. So it was not just a hackathon of any other hackathon, but you are able to teach them some ethics, some integrity, as they also went out to solve some challenges. Unfortunately, there are a number of them who emerged as winners. And it is a privilege to be here. One thing that I want to encourage us, let us continue where we work. Whether we work in the banking, whether we work in the government, whether we work in private sector, let us continue to educate the next person so that we can be security conscious. We remember the COVID-19. We were so much conscious that even up today, I'm carrying my mask around. Why? I was so much conscious of the risk and the danger of COVID-19. Therefore, it is possible for us to develop the consciousness and awareness of the cyber risks, such that before you send money, you are aware that someone can intercept. But it is not upon the people to care so much, the providers, the solution providers of cybersecurity systems. They need to do their part. The Kenyans also need to do their part. And also the government need to do their part. They have provided the framework, the structures. They have given us collaborative frameworks for us to collaborate together. So let us take this advantage. And thank you very much, and God bless you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Fred, for bringing those issues. Awareness, I think, is key. Capacity building is also important, but you've brought in a very important aspect of ethics. And I think that's something we need to impart on the young ones especially, to ensure that we have professionals who are ethical in their work, because cybersecurity and technology is a sensitive business and it's being used across the world. I'll now invite Professor Meoli Kashoda, who is the Executive Director of KENET, to come and give his remarks.
Thank you, Dr. Kundi, the Director General, and all the other invited guests. Good morning. Yes, I come from the academic sector. I represent Kenya Education Network, which for many of you might not know, we operate the Research and Education Network of Kenya. What that means is that it is a community-driven organization that builds high-speed connectivity between the research and education communities of Kenya, and we are in almost all the counties of Kenya with campuses. Right from the when we were formed and constituted as a trust way back in 2000, we have been supported by the Communication Authority in a big way. And also, even up to today, we are still supported by the Communication Authority, especially in advancing the issues to do with cybersecurity. I think the team that is talking about Gen Z coming from the learning institutions, we serve all of them. We have over 700,000 students in universities and TVETs that are connected to our network. So this is a dangerous, yes, in terms of cybersecurity, and without enough awareness of ethics, but with a lot of knowledge and energy and access to broadband internet, they can be dangerous. But we operate what is called the academic SAT, and we have operated it for quite a while. We started collaborating with CA, National Cybersecurity Coordination Center, way back even before the law was in place and the institution was formalized. And we provide the information they need in order to produce those statistics that they are producing. So we collaborate, and we are there for the academic SAT, serving in the academic community. We obviously do not only provide connectivity, we host very critical data, both for the government from DNS, for government, and for the institutions. Universities are all very large institutions, and they hold critical data, and we host all of it, and so security is so important. The DG, let me just highlight two applications, and they are related to what you are told the attack vectors. And those are two applications that we deal with in the academic community. The first one is email. You know, email is one of the most complex applications to operate. If today any of you who are coming from the operators and all were told to provide email for 750,000 students, you would probably struggle with many things. But not only that, you would struggle to clean up the email, because a lot of the attacks are coming through the email. Now, one of the things that has happened way back 2010, when CS, from the time CS Mushero was in Google, we exported all our email. Most of the emails for universities and academic, anyone with a .ac.ke domain gets free email service from Google in terms of hosting. So the infrastructure is out in the cloud, but you still have to clean up email, because now in order for that to happen, there is lots of AI driven. The complexity of operating that infrastructure is something that we try to build here to localize it so that you can have sovereign email. But for the time being, we are almost wholly dependent on the global operators to get the email, the large email systems. And by the way, it is one of the most expensive things to do. One email address, as you all know, from Google is $6 per month per email address. So you can imagine how much it would mean if it was not being donated service, if we had 750,000 accounts, what that would mean to the country in terms of foreign exchange outflow. I think the other one that I want to bring up, today the young people ask for Wi-Fi. You come, they ask for Wi-Fi everywhere. We, as the Research and Education Community of Kenya, Network of Kenya, we operate something called EduRoam. It is Wi-Fi that is secure and was invented by the academic community for the students, the faculty, and the researchers. And it is global. You can go anywhere, open your laptop. You do not have to worry about free, when you go to an airport or you go to a university campus, you do not have to worry about security and even putting VPNs all the time. But in addition to that, we have many other services that ride on top of the EduRoam. So we are trying to promote EduRoam both for we were doing it for on campus until COVID happened. Now we are starting to be able to do it for off campus. The thing that makes it most secure is the identity and trust infrastructure that we operate. Without an identity by all connected members, it will be very difficult to secure Wi-Fi. So when you go out, say to this hotel, you join free Wi-Fi, if you're not using your VPN, you're already in danger, according to the cybersecurity statistics. But with EduRoam, the students, the faculty do not need to worry. So those are the things that we have tried to do in the academic sector, which is of cyber attacks inside the country. They collaborate either with inside our students, our faculty, or they will hijack some of the equipment that we operate, because we operate a very open internet. So I really wish you 3 days. I look forward to hearing your suggestions as we try to strengthen the cybersecurity in this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Kwashoda. I wish Kenneth was there when we were in university, because the word free Wi-Fi would have been music to our ears. Yeah, you remember we used to queue to Anchiromo. We had one lab that had 20 computers, and we had to take turns, using a dial-up network. So that is really good news. And with Wi-Fi, I think it opens a world of impossibilities. I think for Adam and Andy, the key word that I've heard from the first two presenters is collaboration. So I hope we'll also find the word collaboration in your speeches. So without further ado, I want to invite Andy to come. And Andy is the head of cyber at the UK Embassy at the Foreign and Commonwealth Development Office, and he represents Africa and is based at the UK Embassy. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you, Dr. Director General, colleagues, everybody here. Good morning. And it's great to see so many familiar faces here in beautiful Naivasha. I'm really honored to be given this opportunity to say a few words on behalf of the United Kingdom. Thanks for the introduction, Vincent. So I'm the head of the Africa Cyber Network based at the British High Commission in Nairobi. And what that means is I kind of look after cybersecurity capacity building across Africa, UK programs, and also on cyber diplomacy, the work we do at the UN and the ITU as well. So that's the role. I've been in Kenya for 3 years, about 3 years, almost exactly 3 years ago. I was at the CA conference in 2019 in Nairobi, and I'd been here a few days. It was a really great opportunity to get an introduction to the world of cybersecurity in Kenya and to meet so many people and to network. It was a great opportunity. And it seems a long 3 years with, we've had the pandemic, the challenges associated with that at all levels. And it really does feel like we're coming out of that pandemic now and back to normal. So it's really great to have this event. And I'd like to thank the Communications Authority, the partners and all those involved for allowing us to bring this community back together again this week. So the key themes of cyber security remain the same. Cooperation, collaboration. I think you're going to hear that from us all. That is really the crux of what we're here to do. Raising awareness, building skills and building capacity to strengthen resilience, countering cybercrime, and the increasing impact of hostile state actors is really important. And these threats have not gone away. They are increasing and kind of increasing exponentially. So it is more important than ever for us to come together at enterprise, national and international level to combat those threats. So over the last 2 years, we've seen the creation in Kenya of NC4 to enable better coordination across government and more recently the publication of the new National Cybersecurity Strategy, which gives a framework for how Kenya will move forward in this space to really secure Kenya's digital nation in the future. And all of these achievements really highlight the reality of this week's conference theme, which is securing tomorrow, collaboration for a thriving digital nation. And we will all be part of this journey, and my role is to bring support to bear from the UK's Africa Cyber Programme, both in terms of cyber expertise and also funding a range of interventions, from helping to secure critical national infrastructure, fighting cybercrime, and raising awareness and key skills to support Kenya's cyber development journey. In developing and securing that thriving digital Kenya of tomorrow, we all have a very important role to play. So on that note, I'm looking forward to meeting many of you over the next 3 days. Please do make the most of this great opportunity to network and attend the fascinating range of panel sessions and the cybersecurity simulations planned for us all this week. Many thanks. Asante sana.
Thank you very much, Andy, and for also promising to work with us as we implement the National Cybersecurity Blueprint. I'll now invite Adam from Huawei. Huawei partnered with us in the boot camp where we trained, I think, 1,700 students, and I think you'll talk about that in your remarks. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Vincent, Director General, Professor, everyone else who's here. Very delighted to be here this morning, representing Huawei Kenya office. As many of you will know, Huawei's been a very active part of the Kenyan ICT sector for over 20 years, helping build telecoms infrastructure, IT solutions, provide consumer devices, provide cloud and also digital power solutions. We take cybersecurity very, very seriously. In fact, we're actually delighted that we feel that we've earned the trust of our customers, that after over 20 years, we still have the trust of our customers that we work with in Kenya. Cybersecurity is a very, very difficult, very, very complex issue. It requires a very overarching and very deep response to both prevent and both address and manage any cybersecurity issues. In Huawei's perspective, we believe that you have to take a whole ecosystem approach from a people perspective, a process perspective, as well as a product perspective as well. So we work very closely across the supply chain, as well as with consumers, as well as with regulators, government partners, and our peers. And for us, it's very, very important that we actually share our best practices as much as we continue to improve our own practices as well. So we're delighted to work closely with the CA. We also work with the Ministry of ICT and ICT Authority and other agencies in Kenya, as well as over 40 or 50 universities to help build capacity in Kenya around ICT, and cybersecurity is a key part of that. We have signed a technical cooperation agreement with the CA earlier this year. We also have various other agreements with other partners. And through this cooperation, we believe we can bring our expertise, collaborate with the expertise of other partners, and really help improve the ability of both Kenya as a country, the Kenyan individuals, as well as Kenyan businesses and government agencies, because we believe it really does require everyone to be working together, sharing insights, sharing information, and building capacity. And it's a very, very quickly evolving topic. Minute by minute, I think there's new threats, new issues that are arising that we will have to be working with and upgrading the skills of us as organizations and as individuals. As Mr. Vincent had mentioned, we have been working on a bootcamp training program. We did the pilot earlier this year at the coast, and then this year we've done a nationwide one. I believe the 25 top people out of the 1,700 have been in Naivasha the last 2 days, receiving more in-depth hands-on training with physical equipment. I'm looking forward to having the award ceremony on Wednesday evening at the gala dinner and awarding the winners on the winning teams of that exercise. We're also very happy to work with KCSFA on the hackathon that was last week and supporting that as well. Another interesting and important part of building capacity skills amongst youth in Kenya. And also I want to mention the DigiTruck program. Earlier this year, we had the Safer Internet Day celebrations that CA also led. Huawei's also been a part of that. The DigiTruck program is a mobile training classroom that goes to remote areas in Kenya, providing skills on basic digital literacy, but including digital hygiene, a different kind of level, to the advanced skills that, of course, the hackathon and bootcamp have been developing, but no less important. In fact, maybe even more important, to make sure that the Common Wananchi and those youth in rural areas also understand how to be safe online, how to transact online, as well as trying to find jobs online and do business online as well with those kind of digital skills. So that's, I think, all I really wanted to say. We're delighted to work closely with the partners. We think there's a lot more that can be done, and we're looking forward to working with everyone to do more in the future. So I would thank our partners for this initiative and look forward to the next 2 days of the Cybersecurity Conference. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Adam, for reminding us about the interplay between people, processes, and technology, or product for that matter, and also for the need for structured information sharing. I think those are the key issues that we'll also discuss during the panels. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's my singular pleasure to invite our Director General, who is also our CEO and the chief guest in this conference, to come and give his keynote address. And to just say that everything that we have said here about collaboration and the work that we're doing here has been courtesy of his support and his board. And so when he comes here, I can assure you that he really supports the efforts that we're all putting in place to ensure that we enhance our national cyber resilience. So, Mr. DG.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I can tell you stories about greetings around the world. When you go to the UK, you say good morning and people look at you. And basically they've acknowledged, but you not hear them verbalize it. And that used to give me a lot of problems interacting with them. In Africa, lazima useme hujambo, si jambo, sio? And I'm looking, I can see KTN. Are we live or just KTN? All right. You know, sometimes you have to be very careful what you say when you have media houses around. You're streaming live. Okay. And then, of course, there's the other bit of keynote address, the chief guests. You know, I say a lot of this. I grew up since my second year at university, attending meetings and workshops. So you always have this one person who must speak, who must say something of importance, even if they're not important. So, and I keep on wondering why we do these things over and over. It's only a couple of years ago I understood a little bit of why we practice these things. We call them rituals. Rituals. And if you want to understand the meaning of rituals in public spaces, there's a gentleman called Professor Paolo Quatron, a very interesting guy. So he says, from medieval days, there were always rituals that people must sit in certain ways, in certain spaces, and say certain things to bring order to society. So me speaking here as the Director General of CA is part of the rituals to bring order to this meeting. And just getting back to the subject matter of this event, an annual event that happens every other year. This is our third celebration, the October Cybersecurity Month. This is the third year. And just reflecting back in terms of what has happened from last year to today, you will find that the subject matter, cybersecurity, has become so important, not just to us as a country, but to the entire global community. And this means that it's a serious matter. And I'm going to just show you why this is the case. And this morning, when I woke up, I looked at my phone, and many messages, people sending me messages from different parts of the country. And of course, those who are complaining that their SIM cards have been switched off, and they're wondering why we are doing this thing now, why we couldn't wait a little longer. I don't know how many of us here have had their SIM cards duly registered or not registered. Of course, if I say not registered, a lot of you will not raise your hands. So how many of you have registered their SIM cards, duly registered? Excellent. I'll tell you why they're working. That is important. And I'm actually glad to report that as of this morning, when I did my round consultations with the CEOs of the operators in terms of where we are, I'm happy to report that from a compliance rate of 55% in January this year, today, Safaricom was reporting that they've had 93% compliance rate. That's really an achievement. Airtel from 42% as of January. Today they are at 81%. 81.2%. Telkom, I'm still waiting for their numbers. But it tells you something. And it explains why cybersecurity is important. One, we kind of are moving from a state of confusion in terms of how we organize our data in this sensitive field to a more organized space. And it was important because of what we had observed from a regulatory point of view. One, the law requires that you must register your SIM card. That's important. For what reason? To minimize the risks around fraud, terror activities, money laundering activities, and so forth. Today, a lot of us access data, which we say is a new oil, access data via their mobile devices. But if those mobile devices cannot guarantee our safety in that particular space, then it's not worth investing in it. So I'm very, very pleased that based on our regulatory measures in the last couple of months, we've made significant progress that today over 80% of Kenyans are actually registered, have registered their SIM cards, which means operators can also guarantee your safety online or when you're transacting or carrying out your mobile transactions. So that is one of the most important things that we've participated in, informed by what goes on in the cyberspace. I'll also tell you something else. You may not know much about this. They just concluded elections in this country. And I want to appreciate the work done by my team and the operators, the cybersecurity teams in the respective operator space, who ensured that our cyberspace was secure for purposes of transmission of the elections results. One, we guaranteed 100% transmission. It happened, working together with the different operators. Secondly, we guaranteed security or secure systems. We constantly monitor the cyberspace and providing advisory for any mitigation that was required to ensure that the election happens. And I'm very proud of the work that the team here, led by Vincent and colleagues, did. The other thing I need to mention also is that I just came in. I came back yesterday after attending the International Telecommunication Union Plenipotentiary Conference, which is basically a big conference of all 182 countries, where we were having elections to the various positions, basically. And Kenya was running to be a member of the council, just like the Security Council, except that this is bigger. And at this particular forum, one of the critical subject matter of discussion was cybersecurity. And it's been that way for quite a long time. And you could see the interest of the different countries to be part of this specific space, the Governing Council, led by the United Nations, Russia, China, UK, all the global influential countries wanted to be in this particular space. It tells you the importance of technology and the cyberspace in terms of the future of the well-being of us as humans. And I'm glad to report that we actually won our elections to represent Africa on that particular seat, which is a good thing to talk about. So, being in that space, basically, we'll be having an opportunity to shape conversations around the future of the cyberspace, all the way from its utilization in terms of powering our economies to the safety of the users or the safety of the consumers. So this subject is actually very, very important. Ladies and gentlemen, now, as we talk about the digital space, again, one of the things you go out there and people talk about Kenya is about the digital financial inclusion systems, basically M-Pesa and all the transactions that we undertake on mobile. It's something that we must be proud of. But the challenge that comes back to us is how to ensure that those platforms are secure for everyone. Now, if you look at the national level, how has Kenya really focused on this space? The first thing, which Andy alluded to, the adoption of the national cybersecurity strategy just before August this year, is one step in the important step in the right direction. That for the first time, we have a national framework that will allow us to better coordinate when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, that national strategy brings together different players. Of course, we have NC4 there, and NC4 basically is a committee of the different government agencies, relevant government agencies, who are critical in this particular space. So from a government perspective, I think we're now better organized. And you're moving in to the next step, which is trying to assign roles for purposes of effective implementation of that particular strategy for the next 4 years. So from a framework perspective, that strategic plan is really, really critical. And I want to invite all of us to actually look at it if you're in that particular space. Of course, we also have the national, the computer, what is the name of that law? The Computer and the Computer Misuse and Cybercrime Act. That's where NC4 starts, then followed by the cybersecurity. Now, it's a wordy legal framework, but that is where we start. Of course, also working together with the CA, with its mandate under the Kenya Information and Communication Act. So from a legal perspective, I think we have the basic instruments to allow us to make progress. But in the last few years as well, I must mention that we have a coordination framework. You always hear about KSAT, basically a team that brings together different officers from different government entities to be able to monitor the cyberspace for purposes of detection and mitigating the risks that arise from any threats that have been identified or detected in the cyberspace. We got infrastructure, but we need to strengthen that particular space. And from our end, from a capacity perspective, We have our own capacity. But what we realize, we are not going to succeed in this space unless we collaborate with all the other actors. Both the industry in terms of their own spaces, the type of capacity that they have in terms of infrastructure, human resources, and skills. So for us to be more effective in this space, our own KSAT must be able to collaborate with the different cyber security teams out there, among the industry players, so to speak. So we got a lot more work. And what happens in this space is also very interesting. There's a book by Yuval, what's the name? The 21 Lessons for the 21st Century. Yuval Harari, or Harari. He talks about the challenge of this space in terms of the future we are living in or we're going to live in. And there's a chapter he talks about the merger between biology and technology, where technology and biology merge. It's going to present some of the greatest challenges when you talk about cybersecurity. But the challenge he poses to us is whether or not the world is ready or prepared for such phenomena. Of course, what I take from that is that the world that is unfolding before us is likely going to be a totally different world that a lot of us, especially in this part of the world, are not prepared for. So honing our skills in terms of understanding what is happening in the global economy, in terms of digital transformation, where the future is going to be, how we're going to live, is going to be very, very important. So your cybersecurity skills of yesterday may not be relevant for cybersecurity skills required for tomorrow. So how do we keep ourselves in constant understanding of what is happening? How do we keep ourselves prepared? Not just as individuals, but also as the industry in this part of the world. So it needs a lot more learning on a daily basis. It needs a lot more collaboration on a constant basis. Now, the other point I would like to put across is that at the end of the day, as a regulator, of course, we got our mandate, and we also serve the agenda of the government. The government of the day, if you read the manifesto of the current government, they talk about building a digital superhighway. What does that mean? For us who are here, I know we are players in the digital cybersecurity space, but we can do more. I want to invite us to break down that manifesto, that agenda, and see where we find ourselves in terms of how we're going to contribute towards the realization of that particular goal. For us, of course, as a regulator, we look at it and we see a lot more opportunity. And the opportunity we see, one is ensuring that each and every citizen in this country is connected, digitally connected. Why that is important? Because the future economy is going to be driven by the digital space. And when each and every person is connected, it means we are including each and every person in the economic system that is going to rule the world. So in our other, of course, semantics, we use terms like no one being left behind. You know, that's what you'll hear people talking about that. So the building of the digital highway is ensuring that every citizen is actually included in the economy that is going to rule the world. So connectivity being our agenda through the Universal Service Fund, That's what we are going to focus on in the next four years. But for us to have meaningful connectivity, we must ensure that the users or consumers of the ICT services have access to relevant skills to be able to use those products and services, ICT products and services. But not just to use, but to be able to feel safe while using those products and services. So skills from a cybersecurity perspective, from a functional point of view, are also necessary to ensure that each and every citizen is included in the digital economy that we are all fighting to put in place. So it calls upon us to align ourselves with the main agenda, the policy agenda of the government of the day. And I think if all of us are thinking digital in that, on that front, I think we're going to have a better country, a better place, not just nationally, but measuring ourselves at the global level. So whatever I said, you know, all these anecdotes and stories I've given, as we sit here today, marking yet another celebration of the Cybersecurity Month, I think our challenge now is, one, is to continue strengthening the framework of collaboration and coordination when it comes to cybersecurity. Two, we must continue building our capacity to be able to remain relevant, not just for today, but also the digital cybersecurity or digital security challenge of tomorrow. From a regulatory point of view, I think we must also insist on compliance. And that's why I started with the stories around SIM card registration. We must emphasize on enforcement or compliance by all actors, you know, when it comes to cybersecurity. Last but not least, strategic alignment with the overall national policy when it comes to the future of the digital economy. That is where we find ourselves, that's where we're going to be, and that's where we all ought to be. And I want to wish you all the best, even as we continue deliberations in terms of how we're going to make our cyberspace safer. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DG. I think he needs to get another round of applause. And I'm here to confess on his behalf that he didn't read the speech that we prepared for him. But I think he did an even better job, isn't it? I think we'll all agree that he did even a better job. And it's very refreshing to know that our leader has all these things in his mind and he can see the bigger picture. So that provides good leadership. Thank you, DG, for briefing us about the update on SIM card registration. I think it's refreshing to learn that more than 80% of Kenyans have registered their lines. I think for me that's important because it brings a lot of benefits. I'm sure we're all happy to learn that also the issue of cybersecurity is gaining traction at the UN level. I think for me that is significant. Knowing where the ITU is coming from, I think that is very refreshing. The issue of obviously the cybersecurity strategy, the NC4 in place and the need for collaboration and better coordination with government. That was very important. The role of the National SAT, the enhancement of our policy and legal interventions with the Computer and Cybercrime Act, KICA, and the strategy. You know, that gives us a roadmap on the way forward. And of course, last but not least, alignment with the national policy. I think that's one of the things that you mentioned. Thank you very much for those very good remarks. I think they will also shape and guide our discussions moving forward for the next 3 days. And I want to thank you for your time and presence and your words. And I also want to thank all the other speakers before you and the participants for listening. With those few remarks, I want to hand it back to Caroline to guide us on the way forward. I think the only thing that DG forgot to mention, I don't know, is whether you've declared, you forgot one of the rituals. I think you need to just come and say that you've... otherwise, we can't even have coffee.
Okay. And before I do that, I also want to recognize our partners, Huawei. We keep on working together in terms of capacity building. You need to tell people about your small container school or classroom at Afralte. You mentioned that. They got a capacity building for the industry, so you need to visit him. Thank you, Andy, for the support that you give to us. I know yourself, FCDO, working closely with us. We appreciate the support. We've been able to develop some of the strategic documents courtesy of the support of the UK government. Of course, Professor, thank you also for your support. I'm a member of your board. The last board meeting I attended, thank you very much for calling me professor in the meeting, because all the board members in that place are professors, except myself. So sometimes there's a slip of the tongue. We had Professor Chiloba. I'm like, yeah, thank you very much. Okay, the other partner, we have Mr. Wahome. Thanks for bringing together the community. We want a bigger community and a more decentralized community. So that it's not just at the national level, but also at the think about counties as well. That's very useful. So my colleagues who are here, thank you. The media, thank you for coming. And I know we'll be having conversations later. Afralte, I can see the CEO there. Yeah, I can see critical faces here. Thank you very much, and I want to declare this event officially opened. Thank you.
Thank you very much, DG. I'll now hand it back to Caroline to take us through the rest of the program. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Indeed, that was our cue. For as soon as this is declared open, then we'd be able to start. I would like to thank you all for being here, and also acknowledge our sign language interpreter, that's Grace Hashimu, and she'll be facilitating accessibility to information for all our deliberations during this conference. At this moment, I would like to request if we could move to have our photo session, and then thereafter we'll have our coffee break, and then we shall move into the real work of collaboration. Indeed, as the Director General has stated, there's need for us to identify or strategically align to the commitments within the strategic plans, as well as achieving goals so as we could move into the digital economy. So we shall be having a photo session at the front. My colleagues will direct us to where we'll be having the session, and then thereafter we'll have our coffee break, and we shall be back here in about 15 minutes. Yes, 11, so that we could start off our next session, plenary session. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, So it's for everybody. The photo session is for everybody. So let's all follow the panel that is just leaving. Thank you. It's also good to see the students. Please, let's make our way. Tunawangojea tafadhali Asanteni sana. How you doing, bro? Good to see you. Huh? You well? Yeah, good. Yeah, take a sweet. Get some energy. You're not trusting anybody with that, and fine, thank you. Good to see you. Grab a sweet if you want. You want a sweet? You must have been a doll when you were young. African outfit. I'm like,
yourself now.
Now is when I'm going to be unleashed. Finally. Finally. Waiting for you, all of you to, you have to be there in the photo. How will then, nowadays photo evidence is very important. Or is it? It did not happen.
Mostly for PD.
Oh. Are you joining us for the photo, gentlemen?
You have to take our image.
Yeah. I was told not to leave until everybody has left, so I'm here waiting. And I'm serving sweets if you want a sweet. Super. Roy, are you joining us? Ooh, careful usianguke. I'm good, man. Yeah. No, you can take the whole bowl if you want. No, we're coming back. It's actually looking for a sponsor for that, yeah. At the moment, we're looking for a sponsor.
I'm willing to participate. I'll come with my drone.
Could we show off, Kidogo? Okay. All right, thank you. Mzee, so that's Roy. Is he Roy? Brian? No, that one over there. I remember him. Okay. All right, I think that's everybody. To end. Let's do this.
Just like that. Okay. Oh, that's good. Unaisikia? Mic check, mic check. Mic check, mic check. Oh, okay.
I just find a way of putting it. Yenye utakuwa na nini? Utakuwa na sunguka. Tubonga songa.
Mic check, mic check. Ama mimi naongea pole pole. Haiko sawa.
A hand for Judy. She'll be with you for the next 3 days. Next, I'll be inviting our next moderator, Mwaniki Mageria. He may not need a lot of introduction, but you may know him from other quarters. Mwaniki is a TV personality, film producer, director, distributor, and MC. He has a marketing professional partnership with local producers to build a brand, Riverwood, and is also a TV personality. Karibu sana, Mwaniki.
Thank you very much.
So at this point, I'll be seeing you later and looking forward to collaborating with you during these next 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Caroline. Appreciate. Please give a round of applause for Caroline. She did a very good job earlier today.
Fantastic.
She did, didn't she? A good job, eh?
Yeah, fantastic job.
Can you hear us? We are on. You can hear us?
Yeah.
How come we can't hear ourselves?
Yeah. Yeah.
Give us some oomph, please.
Yes,
People
please.
need to hear. You know, when
Yeah.
you crack a joke, it's difficult if they can't hear. And then when they don't laugh, it's on. It's actually on.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
You can
so
hear me?
good. Yeah, maybe,
Okay,
maybe it's not close enough to my mouth.
Like this?
So good morning once again. How are you, ladies and gentlemen? Good, good. Now, I know you've had some tea and you've some energy, so when we say good morning, as our DG told us, you know, in Africa, we want to hear the response back. So, hamjambo. Wakenya mpo.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, much
that's a
better,
good one.
yeah.
So there's something that I learned about this delightful young lady.
Oh.
Apart from the fact that she's a whiz in cybersecurity, she likes githeri.
That's a lie.
With avocado, with makodofia.
See, everybody likes makodofia. Amade, eh? Let's be honest.
Any guys for avocados in the house?
Uh-huh.
Avocado,
see,
those
we
guys
are
know,
very
yeah. Those are makodofia
fantastic,
people.
yeah.
So now you see we're talking about cybersecurity, and you know, when you have security, it's so that you can keep away your fear. So cyber makodofia.
Cyber makodofia.
Yeah, so cybersecurity goes with avocados as well.
Yeah.
So make sure that you get your dose of avocados this lunchtime.
Yeah.
Otherwise known as what? Guacamole.
Guacamole, and please, that's not our hashtag. Yeah, please don't tag that on social media. It's not cyber makodofia.
Actually, our hashtag. You talked about the hashtag. What is the hashtag now? You know, we've gone through 3 of them so far in the group.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to figure out which one we decided on at the end. So the hashtag we've agreed on, ladies and gentlemen, is CA CyberSec Conference 22. Am I right?
No.
Oh, I'm
It's
wrong.
hashtag CA Cyber Conference 2022.
Cyber, without the sec.
Yeah, without
okay,
the sec,
okay, good.
yeah.
CA Cyber Conference 2022.
Fantastic.
You got that?
Yeah.
Cyber Conference 2022 with a CA in front of it. So
Yeah.
CA Cyber Conference 2022. So please, hashtag, make sure that you post some pictures on Twitter. Those of you on IG, do the same thing. What are Facebook mpo? Facebook? Facebook?
That's your era.
Yeah. Guys, I'm with you, homie. I'm with you.
No. What is Facebook?
Come on.
What
you guys.
is that?
Facebook
What is that?
is the father of social media.
See.
Cindio? Or is it the mother?
No, that's TikTok, right?
No, TikTok is a child, grandchild, great-grandchild.
See, this is how you know the age difference, by the way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we want to have a really wonderful time this afternoon with you, this towards afternoon. And in fact, in the afternoon, there's going to be very interesting interaction time as we do simulations.
Yeah.
That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Of course, we'll be led by the Kenya Bankers Association. And we're really I can see a lot of them here, very happy to lead us through. That's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Now, for now, I think I want to leave you in the capable hands of the delightful Miss Ngure.
Oh, thank you.
And I will be right back for the next session.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So please
thank
give a round of applause for Judy Ngure.
Thank you. Well, I hope we've had our coffee for the coffee lovers and the tea for the tea lovers. You know, at least some energy, because we're about to start on a very, very high note. So my name is Judy Ngure, as my co-moderator has indicated. And, you know, I'll be with you for the next 3 days. You know, if you don't see me, something happened, but otherwise I'll be around. And I'm so glad to see, you know, I'm usually in these conferences, but I'm usually with the people behind the terminal. Now I'm here with the policy makers. And you know, with my crowd, I have to start with motivation. So you can do this, you will make it. This is a different kind of crowd. I don't think I need to come up with some motivation with the CEOs and the directors here and, you know, some of very, very exquisite looking men. And I must say the suits are looking fantastic. Yeah, you're welcome. That wasn't for you, but, you know, you're welcome. Yeah. So we have a few, I don't know if you have access to the program. You know, I will not walk you through everything, but what I can say is it's a little bit of everything, yeah? From panels, we have keynotes, we have simulations, which will be happening after lunch. And I know after lunch is usually very hard to sit down and listen to conversations, people talking. But this time round, CA has done an amazing job coming up with a different set of, you know, program. Please, let's give them a applaud for such an amazing program, yeah? Such an amazing program. And wow, this is a fantastic, I don't know, I've never been in such a place with all of this, and I can't see you, you know, some of you, but I was told when you're here, you have to think, if you want to not get nervous, think of everybody naked. So I don't know if that will work, but I can't see you all, so I don't have to think of it that way. Anyway, so to start us off, we'll have a keynote speak, and then we'll have a panel discussion. And I'm so glad to be part of this panel because it's something I'm very, very enthusiastic about, which is, you know, the industry, who is in the industry, what are the roles and responsibilities of people in the industry. But before we get to the panel discussion, I'd like to invite somebody. I think this is the second time we are meeting this month, Mr. George Njuguna. Anyone knows George Njuguna? Sorry? Yeah? Fantastic. Everybody, actually. George Njuguna from Safaricom. If you know Safaricom, they are the epitome of everything we do right now. Culture, security, money. I hope you came with some money here, some M-Pesa. We need M-Pesa transactions. Just send your numbers. George Njuguna, thank you, everybody. George, karibu sana.
I hope this is working. It's great to be here. I think before I begin, I'd like to introduce my colleague Sam, who's our recently promoted head of cybersecurity. Sam, please stand up. Please give him a clap. Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm waiting for my stuff, if you don't mind, to be brought. Oh, here it is. I think if I look around the room, it was great to see lots of familiar faces and people who I've worked with, and from my background in financial services, in technology, and now in cyber. Believe it or not, I left the office at 3 a.m. this morning. I was doing an M-Pesa upgrade, but Vincent, you're smiling. Vincent was telling me to come here, and I was like, will I come, will I not? But when the regulator calls you for a conference, my CEO told me you need to go. But luckily we did an M-Pesa upgrade with no downtime. And I think that's one of the better things that we've been able to achieve with the team. So that's why you didn't see any announcements or any of those notifications that the system will be going down, because I believe our users require to be always on. So talking a bit about the organization, I mean, just as an opening, and I think it does tend to define what we are seeing in the telecommunications space, financial services and others. A lot of the organizations in telecoms, as well as financial services and generally the services industry, are tilting to talk about being technology companies. They were kind of users of technology, but making very bold steps. And this is an excerpt from our annual report that our CEO shared with our investors and shareholders. We talked about how we're going to be transforming to a technology company, and a couple big building blocks
that we were talking about. We're talking about agile being important. We talked about the importance of building capability, and it's at the core of the topic that Vincent and the team have asked me to address. We're talking also about how do we plug in automation and digitization, looking at how the business begins to evolve on the financial services side to a two-sided platform or ecosystem. We want to be recognized as Safaricom as the #1 brand when it comes to technology, not just in Kenya but in the region, and very happy last week to have been in Addis last week but one actually, as we opened Safaricom Ethiopia. And so looking at this region being the go-to organization when it comes to technology solutions, including cyber. And then how do we leverage on big data and analytics in terms of making a difference? Being able to serve our customers better, being able to have better insights on the products and services we offer, but also on the technology side and cyber, how do we leverage analytics? Sam will tell you, if you talk to him, that the number of threats we have cannot be managed even if we were to hire the entire population of the country. There's a need to use tools and automation to be able to address this. We still say that our objective is to transform lives. It's our purpose. By applying technology, we want to do it in a simple way and make life more convenient. We connect people to people, people to business, but also to knowledge and opportunities. Now, in this journey, we are finding that the threats continue to abound. When you're just a telco, there is certain threats you deal with. Then you bring financial services. That opens a whole other Pandora's box and new attackers coming into play. I read the Q3 report from CA, and it's very telling that financial services, digital financial services, has been identified as one of the key drivers of cyber attacks because of the money element. But also, when you start now going into health, into agriculture, 5G, drones, the more technology you pull into your ecosystem, the more challenges, the more threats that are there. And then the other challenge we're facing is on talent. It's at the center of this topic. We're talking about cybersecurity roles. More than ever, we are seeing talent fleeing. And it's not just fleeing to our usual competitors, it's fleeing to other industries, and it's also fleeing to multinationals. Our CHRO often, when he talks, says right across from his office, a certain company that has I would say, red on their banner has set up, and it's facing our banner. And we're seeing talent moving across the street, not having to even move houses, but drop off at a different stage. And this is the reality of what we're facing. And it doesn't only become difficult for product people, technology, but also in the cyberspace, because you're having people leaving your organization who have a lot of insider knowledge, and also you're bringing in new people and handing them access to very critical applications. If I look at our cyber landscape, a couple things to mention. These numbers are from the latest CA report. We're talking about 65 million subscribers, talking about 130% penetration when it comes to SIM cards. DG, I don't know the latest number on SIM cards. I can tell you I had a very rough day yesterday, from people online to calls, very senior people in government telling me, George, you disconnected my line. And my team just ran a script. And I don't know how the DG gets away, because everybody else was tagged other than CA in it. So I want to believe there are 65 million, but maybe less, following the recent directive. 37 million plus on mobile money, and talking about smartphone penetration being about 54.3%. So this says that we are a connected economy. We are a digital economy. People may not be generating income and revenue at their expected levels, but they are online, they are doing things, and this does create quite a number of considerations that we need to look at. We're seeing an increase in threats due to the expansion of remote workforce. during the COVID pandemic, so many people began working at home. In our organization, we almost moved 100%. You actually needed to have permission to come to work in the office. And post that, so many people got to move to rural areas. We began to see our network demand in remote areas increasing because they need, from our contact center staff to our tech teams, our product teams, people relocating up country and being required to coordinate and deliver with teams at the center or in cities. And we didn't just see it in our organization, but in customers of ours, where the typical bandwidth demand at a central head office was now being scattered across multiple locations. The expansion of cloud services, and I love cloud, has expanded the attack surface. I think before we used to look so much at securing our data centers, putting firewalls into our network, multiple firewalls, WAFs. Now you're talking about not operating in one data center. Safaricom, we have about 10,000 servers across 6 data centers. When we move to the cloud, we are on AWS, we're on Azure, we're leveraging Google Cloud. So all of a sudden, the challenge to our cybersecurity team, we want to move to cloud, the tech teams, but then the cyber team now has to expand the net within which they are protecting us. And this also goes to customers with the applications they're using at their devices. They are not local. There's no one localized cloud that people are on. People are on multiple clouds. So that does create some complexity and challenge. We have about 143 million gamers in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, if I look at the crowd here, I bet many of you are not into gaming. There's about 3.4 billion gamers in the world, majority of them being in Asia and then Europe. But in sub-Saharan Africa, we are coming up. And I can tell you what happens in those gaming rooms, and there is beyond. And I was telling our CEO the other day that he needs to start playing games to understand quite a bit about our future customer. They are putting in a lot of bandwidth. They have a lot of capability. Many of them are not cyber, I would say, savvy. They just want to play the game and they want the high bandwidth. I was talking to someone recently who bought a gaming kit for their child for 700,000 shillings. There's the seat, the headphones, I don't know what type of keyboard, gloves. It's a whole movement out there. But I can tell you it's also a place where a lot of attacks are coming through. It's a reality. They're on our network. And we can't say that for someone in our space, the gaming use case is a very good use case because they suck a lot of data. But also with it is the potential to even bring down complete networks. We've also seen a huge focus on crypto when it comes to the cyberspace. Crypto.com just this year on January 17th were hacked, and their two-factor authentication was compromised. And the hackers got away with over $30 million. That's what was reported, but you can bet it's more. We always believed that crypto is the safest. Crypto is also the common avenue for payments of ransomware. So these are things probably when many of us were getting our cybersecurity training, crypto was nowhere in the horizon, but it's a reality that we need to look at. We're seeing more distributed attacks on smaller companies. I think the guys are realizing that some of the big players have invested extensively on cybersecurity defense. So it becomes, but if they can attack many small players, they can get away with just as much. And I recall when I was in financial services, and I would commonly raise this, I think I saw Fidelis here, with the Kenya Bankers team. As bankers, the one area we would never collaborate on is on cyber. And so you find the same scheme that was used in this bank. I see my former partners from Silensec up there. The same thing is happening with the same banks on the same street, and we're not collaborating. The reality is the bad guys are collaborating, and the good guys, because of maybe a fear of embarrassment, we tend not to collaborate, not to share information. When the last Q3 report came out from CA, in one of the groups I'm in, one of the people made a comment that, wow, if CA is reporting this, it's just a fraction, because there are so many that are not being reported. So that means our posture, our ability to come together to defend becomes compromised because we are not collaborating. In the year 2021, there was about a 50% increment in terms of the corporate networks being attacked. Networks continue to be quite a big vector. In the Vodafone group, in our Vodafone Portugal business was brought down for 3 days by a cyber attack. They didn't even ask for money. I think the teams are still trying to figure out what the motive was. But you can imagine it reached a point their customers moved to the competitors, but the competitors could not carry the traffic. And the competitors were begging Vodafone, can you please get back on network? Your customers are killing our network. It was a crisis in Portugal. You can go online and look at it. And more, when the investigation came out, it did appear to be a form of a phishing attack where an insider unknowingly shared credentials on a Teams call with somebody who was malicious. But those are the reality of the type of things we're facing. For those of you in cyber, I did want to finish with a quote that, passwords are like underwear. And the interesting thing is, one is nobody should see it, unless you're an exotic dancer. You should change it often. And, but also everybody needs to have one. I'm going to make a controversial statement here. If I were to ask the cyber experts how many times they've had a senior member of staff, I don't want to say a director or a CEO, tell them to remove the password or not to have the two-factor, I'm sure many hands in this room would come up. Maybe I should say stomp your feet. But the reality is that this is the challenges that we're finding ourselves facing. And you should keep it, and probably the fourth part is you shouldn't be sharing your underwear. So don't share your password as well. So I think we're seeing a lot of gaps in organizations. I talked about them. I think frameworks are key to it. We are seeing so many solutions coming into play. I won't touch on this. Skill sets, I think, are a big one, quite not sufficient for this. I applaud the regulator for bringing us to have this conversation. I've seen what's been put in terms of KSAT and others, because many times cyber perhaps was the funding that got the budget last after everything. You spent millions and billions on everything. Then cyber comes last. But we always tell ourselves that one cyber attack can wipe away everything that you had put your CapEx and other investments in. We are becoming more complex as organizations in terms of integrations. And overall, the staff awareness across, and even the citizen and customer awareness on cyber resilience is not where it should be. I was asked to comment in terms of segregation, and it's a topic I believe we'll discuss in our panel. I started my career in financial services in cybersecurity, and I think more and more I've moved away from cyber, but I found I'm coming back with what Sam and I call DevSecOps. And I thought I could just enjoy building things and software engineering. Then I realized at the end of the process, when I want to go live, I have to go to the cyber team, and they take another 4 weeks and take me back 4 months in my development. So the view is, let me just bring them into the project at the beginning and get those capabilities so that we are consistently developing and we're able to deploy in our 2-week windows without any breaks. But the fact is, the segregation becomes important, but at the same time, we need to work together. We both need to own and have an equal presence on security and incident response teams. but the objectives are different. One is deploying new solutions and functionality, and the other one is protecting. But in terms of the capabilities and importance, I think one of the ones I'd like to call out is, I think people in the technical space, including cyber, cannot just be introverts, or especially at a leadership levels, or people in hoodies who are seated behind computers. Engagement's important. You don't have just the technology experience, but you also need to understand the business. There are many times we discuss with our cyber team about alternatives or exemptions, because also you can't implement cybersecurity 100% in terms of closing all the threats. Just the day you're about to go live, there's a new vulnerability. So do you not go live, and these things are growing by their hundreds of thousands? Sometimes you have to make compromises. But if you have a proper understanding of the business and what the business is about, those decisions can be made. But also understanding risk management, and then having the strong communication and presentation skills. I think in conclusion, I think it's about the skill set, the tool set, and the mindset. We need to focus on addressing needs. I believe it is possible to have innovation in cybersecurity. I think the conversation we've been having with the team, many times when we organize hackathons and innovation events, we are doing them in our organization around fintech, around IoT. And the challenge we gave our cybersecurity team, how come we're not having innovation around cybersecurity? Are there not new approaches that we can bring into place? We need to elevate cybersecurity to the board. We need to demonstrate the business benefits, translating threats and tech speak into business. It's important to prioritize people and the processes, but also continuous training. I talked about crypto, and there's other new techs. How do you protect IoT? Maybe your cyber team is asking, what is IoT? And so they'll probably say, just go live with this thing, because they don't know what it is, but a month down the line, they realize it's a new vector for attacks. So continuous training and certification is important. We need to look at security by design. That's what we're doing even in our Agile program at Safaricom. Everybody is going, everybody, developers, network teams, big data teams are going through cybersecurity training, our entire organization literally, because we believe this awareness is important, and even as they build and design solutions, they do this by design. But also it's important to adopt the frameworks and standards, and also make sure that the necessary investment is done. In closing, I do have to say it is all about people. I think the great things we do in our organization, the great things we do at CA and many of the companies here, they don't just happen. It's people who make them happen. I believe if we can come together as key stakeholders, not just on the telecommunications side, fintech, but even with the policymakers, the regulator, we can actually build a cyber defense center for our country that is able to not just protect our organizations, but looking at our consumers and our young ones, who are some of them beginning to go on the internet at 2 years old, beginning to engage. My son was doing stuff long before he could crawl and talk, but he's able to do stuff on an iPad. All my kids operate on, they're moving way ahead. How are we protecting them from all sorts of predators? So even if we don't do it for the business sense, we have a responsibility to do it for the upcoming generation that will continue to be tech savvy and depend a lot on tech. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That's George Njuguna, the Director of IT at Safaricom. Come on, guys, we can do better, yeah? That was a fantastic presentation. Thank you. You know, this is the second time I'm meeting George, and being a DevSecOps consultant, when he talked about what they have implemented in Safaricom for DevSecOps, I felt like I was not doing my job, eh? So now then he mentions a two-factor authentication company that was hacked, and I have a two-factor authentication company I feel like now it's personal, yeah? Okay. Yeah, so that's George Njuguna, and I'm so glad that he's part of the panel because we'll be discussing, you know, roles, responsibilities, talent, and I know that's a big thing right now that companies are struggling with. And, you know, Safaricom being Safaricom, you know, in the midst of everything, maybe they can help us understand how we can actually be able to sort the issue of talent gap, yeah? All right, so I'm going to introduce the rest of my panel. I hope they are all here. I can see some of them. So the next panelist that we have is Professor Milo Kashoda. I think he's around. I saw him. Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. So he's currently the executive director. Come on, give him a clap as he comes. Executive director of If any of you doesn't know what Kenik is, you should be hung. That should be striked, eh? So, and I know we have a couple of guys also from Kenik. It's fantastic to have you here. They are, you know, they are within the CA compound. And last week, they celebrated 20 years of being in the industry. So, congratulations, Anna. Our next panelist is Mwendwa Kivuva. Is he around? Oh, there. Fantastic, fantastic. Makofi. Mwenda Kivuva is an experienced ICT practitioner who has worked in different national and multinational organizations as a network engineer, system administrator, project manager, CTO, and he has over 15 years of experience. That's fantastic. These are teenage years, eh? Us here with our 4 years of experience, eh? We cannot. Fantastic. So Joan Mboro, karibu sana. She is currently the CISO of Airtel Kenya. Let's try this again. Makofi Vizuri. Yeah. She has over 14 years experience in the information security, having worked in telecommunication and financial services. That's fantastic. Karibu sana, Joan. And last but not least, we have Francis Sitati. A coffee for Francis. So Francis Sitati is currently serving in the position of Cybersecurity Monitoring and Management Office in the Cybersecurity Department at CAK. Oh, wow. These are the people we need to ask those very people don't like being in my panel because I ask very hard questions. Yeah. Yeah, but I promise today I'll try and keep it as nice as possible. Yeah, so let's talk about roles and responsibilities of the cybersecurity practitioners in the market. Yeah, and I know we are struggling as an ecosystem where we have the big giants coming and you know, pulling our talent with a very nice stipend. and responsibilities that you think every company should have in their cybersecurity department? Yeah, I'm gonna start with Joan. I hope that's okay.
Audible? Good. That's a very loaded question, Judy, because every organization is different, and they're at different maturity levels. And you'll find, in fact, what used to happen even long time ago, and even now, you'll find a lot of security roles will sit with IT, and specifically with the CIO or the IT manager. As organizations have evolved, and of course things like ransomware happened, a few more people started getting more security roles in the organization. But essentially, in summary, what I can say is you need to have somebody who is responsible